Complete Works of Swami Vivekananda, Part 16, Maya and Illusion, delivered in London, Section 1. Almost all of you have heard of the word Maya. Generally, it is used, though incorrectly, to denote illusion or delusion, or some such thing. But the theory of Maya forms one of the pillars upon which the Vedanta rests. It is therefore necessary that it should be properly understood. I ask a little patience of you, for there is a great danger of its being misunderstood. The oldest idea of Maya that we find in Vedic literature is a sense of delusion. But then the real theory had not been reached. We find such passages as Indra through his Maya assumed various forms, and so on. Here it is true the word Maya means something like magic, and we find various other passages, always taking the same meaning. The word Maya then dropped out of sight altogether, but in the meantime the idea was developing. Later the question was raised, why can't we know the secret of the universe? And the answer given was very significant, because we talk in vain, and because we are satisfied with the things of the senses, and because we are running after desires. Therefore, we, as it were, cover the reality with a mist. Here, the word Maya is not used at all, but we get the idea that the cause of our ignorance is a kind of mist that has come between us and the truth. Much later on, in one of the latest Upanishads, we find the word Maya reappearing, but this time a transformation has taken place in it, and a mass of new meaning has attached itself to the word. Theories had been propounded and repeated, others had been taken up, until at last the idea of Maya became fixed. We read in the Shveta Upanishad, know nature to be Maya, and the ruler of this Maya is the Lord Himself. Coming to our philosophers, we find this word Maya has been manipulated in various fashions until we come to the great Sri Adi Shankaracharya. The theory of Maya was manipulated a little by the Buddhists too, but in the hands of the Buddhist it became very much like what is called idealism, and that is the meaning that is now generally given to the idea of the word Maya. When the Hindu says the world is Maya, at once people get the idea that the world is an illusion. This interpretation has some basis as coming through the Buddhist philosophers, because there was one section of philosophers who did not believe in the external world at all. But the Maya of the Vedanta in its last developed form is neither idealism nor realism, nor is it a theory. It is a simple statement of facts, what we are and what we see around us. As I have told you before, the minds of the people from whom the Vedas came were intent upon following principles, discovering principles. They had no time to work upon details or to wait for them. They wanted to go deep into the heart of things. Something beyond was calling them, as it were, and they could not wait. Scattered through the Upanishads, we find that the details of subjects which we now call modern sciences are often very erroneous, but at the same time their principles are correct. For instance, the idea of ether, which is one of the latest theories of modern science, is to be found in our ancient literature in forms much more developed than is the modern scientific theory of ether today, but it was in principle. When they tried to demonstrate the workings of that principles, they made many mistakes. The theory of the all pervading life principle, of which all life in this universe is but a differing manifestation, was understood in Vedic times. It is found in the Brahmanas. There is a long hymn in the Samhitas in praise of prana, of which all life is but a manifestation. By the by, it may interest some of you to know that there are theories in the Vedic philosophy about the origin of life on this Earth very similar to those which have been advanced by some modern European scientists. You, of course, all know that there is a theory that life came from other planets. It is a settled doctrine with some Vedic philosophers that life comes in this way from the moon. Coming to the principles, we find these Vedic thinkers very courageous and wonderfully bold in propounding large and generalized theories. The solution of the mystery of the universe from the external world was as satisfactory as it could be. The detailed workings of modern science do not bring the question one step nearer to solution because the principles have failed. If the theory of ether failed in ancient times to give a solution of the mystery of the universe, working out the details of that ether theory would not bring us much nearer to the truth. If the theory of all pervading life failed as a theory of this universe, it would not mean anything more if worked out in detail, for the details do not change the principle of the universe. What I mean is that in their inquiry into the principle, the Hindu thinkers were as bold and in some cases much bolder than the moderns. They made some of the grandest generalizations that have yet been reached, and some still remain as theories, which modern science has yet to get even as theories. For instance, they not only arrived at the ether theory but went beyond and classified mind also as a still more rarefied ether. Beyond that, again, they found a still more rarefied ether. Yet, that was no solution. It did not solve the problem. No amount of knowledge of the external world could solve the problem. But, says the scientist, we are just beginning to know a little. Wait a few thousand years and we shall get the solution. No, say the Vedantist, for he has proved beyond all doubt that the mind is limited, that it cannot go beyond certain limits, beyond time, space, and causation. As no man can jump out of his own self, so no man can go beyond the limits that have been put upon him by the laws of time and space. Every attempt to solve the laws of causation, time, and space would be futile, because the very attempt would have to be made by taking for granted the existence of these three. What does the statement of the existence of the world mean then? This world has no existence. What is meant by that? It means that it has no absolute existence. It exists only in relation to my mind, to your mind, and to the mind of everyone else. We see this world with the five senses, but if we had another sense, we would see in it something more. If we had yet another sense, it would appear as something still different. It has therefore no real existence. It has no unchangeable, immovable, infinite existence. Nor can it be called non existence, seeing that it exists and we have to work in and through it. It is a mixture of existence and non existence. Coming from abstractions to the common, everyday details of our lives, we find that our whole life is a contradiction, a mixture of existence and non existence. There is this contradiction in knowledge. It seems that man can know everything if he only wants to know, but before he has gone a few steps, he finds an adamantine wall which he cannot pass. All his work is in a circle and he cannot go beyond that circle. The problems which are nearest and dearest to him are impelling him on and calling day and night for a solution, but he cannot solve them because he cannot go beyond his intellect. And yet the desire is implanted strongly in him. Still, we know that the only good is to be obtained by controlling and checking it. With every breath, every impulse of our heart asks us to be selfish. At the same time, there is some power going beyond us which says that it is unselfishness alone which is good. Every child is a born optimist. He dreams golden dreams. In youth, he becomes still more optimistic. It is hard for a young man to believe there is such thing as death, such a thing as defeat or degradation. Old age comes and life is a mass of ruins. Dreams have vanished into the air and the man becomes a pessimist. Thus, we go from one extreme to another, buffeted by nature without knowing where we are going. It reminds me of a celebrated song in the Lalita Vistara, the biography of Buddha. Buddha was born, says the book, as the savior of mankind, but he forgot himself in the luxuries of his palace. Some angels came and sang a song to rouse him, and the burden of the whole song is that we are floating down the river of life, which is continually changing, with no stop and no rest. So are our lives, going on and on without knowing any rest. What are we to do? The man who has enough to eat and drink is an optimist, and he avoids all mention of misery, for it frightens him. Tell not to him of the sorrows and the sufferings of the world, go to him and tell that it is all good. Yes, I am safe, says he. Look at me, I have a nice house to live in. I do not fear cold and hunger. Therefore, do not bring these horrible pictures before me. But on the other hand, there are others dying of cold and hunger. If you go and teach them that it is all good, they will not hear you. How can they wish others to be happy when they are miserable? Thus, we are oscillating between optimism and pessimism. Then there is a tremendous fact of death. The whole world is going towards death. Everything dies. All our progress, our vanities, our reforms, our luxuries, our wealth, our knowledge have that one end, death. That is all that is certain. Cities come and go, empires rise and fall, planets break into pieces and crumble into dust, to be blown about by the atmospheres of other planets. Thus, it has been going on from time without beginning. Death is the end of everything. Death is the end of life, of beauty, of wealth, of power, of virtue too. Saints die and sinners die, kings die and beggars die. They are all going to death, and yet this tremendous clinging on to life exists. Somehow we do not know why. We cling to life, we cannot give it up, and this is Maya.